Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel and my new series, Haunted History. Today we're going to be talking about the ghost story House Number 90 that takes place in Charleston, South Carolina. I know I'm spending a lot of time in this area, but it's just full of so much history and I'm very excited to just tell you all about it and just enjoy the evening. So sit back, relax, grab your coffee, tea, wine, whatever it is, and get ready for this episode of Haunted History. So I actually changed the background, a little rambling rant, because behind me is the ugliest couch I've ever seen in my life. When my husband and I moved in together, I just could not get rid of this thing. It's a little pull-out bed type of thing, and I have it in my office. I had sleepovers with it with my sister-in-law as a kid, so I just can't get rid of it. I'm in the process of getting it recovered. It is disgusting, but the memories behind certain things you just can't throw out. So please excuse this ugly purple couch. As I talk about the video, it will change soon, I promise. But without further ado, here is the story of House Number 90. So in Charleston, in the late 1800s, early 1900s, people, of any time, loved dinner parties. I don't know anywhere else in the world, but you go to Charleston, you go to a dinner party. Well, it was all of the nice and high society members of Charleston together in this one room, and they start gossiping. And they're talking about just so many different things. They're talking about the supernatural. And there's this one little fellow there, and he just does not believe that there could be any such thing as ghosts or the supernatural or whatever. So he decides, after having a little too much bubbly, he's going to spend the night in a haunted house. So they're talking about what haunted house that he's going to stay in, because he wants to prove that there is no such thing as ghost or the supernatural, period. But these people are like, no, we've heard some stories. Now this is Charleston, this place is haunted. But he insisted that he's going to do it. He's going to prove them wrong. Well, as they get to talking about several different stories, one particular story of a home comes to light in this conversation. So the owner of this home lives overseas. It was his father's home, and his father had recently passed away. The home is fully furnished. He just wants to rent it out. He doesn't want to get rid of it yet. And he has it for rent at a cheap price. This home is so nice. It has 11 bedrooms, a formal dining room, dressing room, servant quarters, and it was fully furnished. And it had so much more, but that's just the main advertising things that this house had that he was sharing. So they're like, we decide that you are going to stay at house number 90. And Mr. Hollyoak, Buzz is coming. He's like, oh yeah, get in touch with the caretaker and have him contact me. And they're like, well, you need a witness, because we want to see that you actually stayed there. So one of his buddies is like, all right, I'll check on him. We'll do it. So that next evening, his friend, the witness, and the caretaker meet with him in front of the home just before dark. He's like, all right, do what you need to do. Good night. I'm not staying longer than needed. We're dropping you off. And they watched him walk in the home. And they planned to meet at 8 a.m. the next morning. So the next morning comes, and the friend and the caretaker walk up to the steps. Mr. Hollyoak walks out, and he's a little frazzled and he looks like he didn't really sleep well. The friend's like, hey man, are you alright? Like, what happened? He's like, I need to eat breakfast first. I gotta eat breakfast before I tell you something. And it's just eating breakfast and thinking about everything that happens. And it's like, alright, I'm finally ready to tell you about what happened in house number 9. So he begins the story saying he walked up the stairs and he was just trying to scope out the place, figure out where he wanted to settle down for the night. And he noticed that the door was creaked open and there was light coming through the door. And this piqued his curiosity. So he goes into the room and noticed that a fire had been lit. He's like, oh, okay, so the caretaker set up this bedroom, or this suite for me, and left the fire running. That's so sweet. That's very kind of him. So he just kind of sets up and gets really comfortable in the rooms, and he notices there's some doors all around the room. This piqued his curiosity even more, and he's like, I'm going to check out what these doors lead to. He opens the first door. It's nothing but an empty closet. Now he's just stepping around, tapping his toe. Nothing really comes of it. So he leaves that one and goes to the next door. Same thing, it's just a utility closet. He goes to the next one and it's his bathroom. So he decides there's nothing exciting about this room. I'm just going to read my book. So he gets cozy in front of the little love seat in front of the fire. He's passing his time by reading, thinking that it's just going to be such an uneventful night and how bored he was. But he wanted to prove his point, so he's just going to stay. I don't know if you've ever been anywhere in the South, but every downtown area has these bell towers that chime every hour. So this was in downtown Charleston, and it was chiming, letting him know that it was 12 o'clock at night. Next thing he knows, he hears, he's like, oh wow, okay, the mice are out. You know, nobody's lived here in ages, so it must be the mice, right? And the steps get quicker and quicker, and they stop in front of his door. And then there's a knock. Dinner is served. He's like, what? How did somebody get in this house? So he picks up the iron poker to the fire. And he's walking towards the door. There's a second knock. There's a second knock. Sir, dinner is served. So he's got this. And he's freaked out. He opens the door. There's a little man sitting there. He has the poker. He's like, girl, well, I don't want dinner. Thanks, though. He shuts the door. He's like, what? No. And he goes back, sits down, opens his book, starts reading. Trying to read, because after that, how do you just go back to reading a book? You know, he's probably thinking like, ooh, what just happened? Then he hears steps again. But this time, the knocks on the door were stronger, with more authority. Boom, boom, boom. He's like, oh, hell no. So he gets up. He opens the door and it's a butler. Sir, dinner is served and the guests demand your presence. So he's sitting there like, alright, sure, I'll come, yeah. He's a little freaked out, so he sets his little poker down and he starts following the butler out of his room into the hallway and down the stairs. And as he's descending the stairs, headed towards the dining room, his name is announced. Mr. Holyoke will be joining us this evening. They didn't say it like that, like this is... They might have a British accent there. Then. But it sounds better that way, when a butler has that English accent, you know. So he goes in there, and he's so startled. How did anybody know his name? Did the caretaker tell them? Like, what's going on? And it appears to be a Christmas dinner party. He's looking around at the people, and they're all in this older attire. It was still probably 18th century, so I guess the 1700s. Please say that's right. Oh God. Anyways, so all these people are wearing this 18th century attire, and he's just a little bit taken back by the fashion. But he's not going to be rude. Mr. Hollyoak wants to see this through. So, he's walking in, and he's noticing there's all types of people, 24 people at this dinner party. And he's talking to them, and somebody says that he can sit beside these two beautiful women. And he knows that these are two of the most beautiful women he's ever seen in his life. So he sits down. Ting, 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 ting. Somebody taps the glass. Good evening, everyone. I would love to make a toast to our guest, Mr. Hollyoak. And he's like, oh, thank you so much. Yes, I would love to say grace before we eat dinner. So he sits down quickly to pray before any ghost could say anything. He starts reciting a Latin prayer. Then all of a sudden there's all these screeches and crashes and screams. He jerks up, and there's just silence. Nothing. No dinner party, no fancy candelabras, nothing. So he quickly just retreats back to his room, locks the door, just tries to focus, read a little bit, and go back to sleep. But it seemed like before no time it was morning again, and he went downstairs to meet with the caretaker and his friend. So at this point in the story, they had just finished breakfast, and he finished telling the story of what happened that night. Mr. Hollyoak looks at the caretaker, and he was like, do you mind if I stay another night? I have to know who those people were, why they were there. Surely they meant me no harm. And the caretaker was like, sure, of course. And the friend was just startled, like he proved it was true. But this time, Mr. Hollyoak had a condition where he wanted the key to the home to make sure nobody could enter the home. The caretaker said that when they met that night, he would give Mr. Hollyoak the key to lock himself in, and they would come back the next morning. So that night comes, they say goodbye, and the next morning comes. The friend and the caretaker show up at the house at 8 a.m. next morning. They're knocking with no response. An hour goes by. They're starting to get worried. So the friend, he looks through the peephole. And as he looks through the peephole, there's an eye staring back at him. And he's so startled, he jumps back. He's terrified. Somebody's in this house. And a thing to note that I forgot to put in earlier was that Mr. Hollyoak brought his dog with him, and they didn't hear any barking as they were knocking on the door. So they're really worried that they saw this eye staring back at them. Like, that would freak me out. Like, looking through a peephole and an eye be right there? No, thank you. So they notice some policemen walking by, and they're so worried. They say, hey, can you help us? Please, my friend stayed the night in there. We don't know if he's okay or not. So they're trying to get into this home, and then suddenly, when they meet back in front, the front door creaks open. And as the doors open, there at the bottom of the staircase is Mr. Hollyoak, dead. They don't say what exactly happened to the dog, which I'm curious about, but it's not in the story. And with that being said, that's the story of house number 90. So this story isn't actually true, but it is one that's told very often around this area, and it's one that just chilled me to the bone. I've got chills as I'm telling it, and I will actually link the original story down below. The story was written by B.M. Croker, and this is a writer who lived between 1849 to 1920, so in this era, ghost stories were becoming really popular in the area, and I was so excited to be able to tell you this story. So, I know it was false, it wasn't really history, but it's a cool story that was told. So with that being said, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. If you did like it, leave a like and a comment down below. And if you're not subscribed, please subscribe. I'm going to be trying to post once a week, hopefully Monday or Wednesday, if not both if I can. I have a little one, so it's really hard to film sometimes. You can hear him moving around in the background. But with that being said, thank you so much for watching, and I hope you all have a great day.
Oh, I hope I'm in the right spot. I'm going to take care of my baby and answer your phone, so hopefully everything is on silent and I can film. So where was I?
Family heirloom cat. He sits down, he's looking around, and he hears someone tap the glass. Toot, 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 toot.